Hello. Am I audible, my dear students?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So, very good morning and very good morning to our today's guest speaker, Miss Nidhi Kothari. Trust you all are doing well. And actually today the task of introducing our guest speaker is of a great privilege for me. It's a great honor that I'm able to introduce our today's guest speaker in front of all of you. And I believe that you all already had an excellent session also yesterday. But then again, yes, on my part, it's my great honor and my privilege to introduce Ms. Nidhi Kothari again. Nidhi Kothari, ma'am, she's a chartered accountant with 14 years of experience in the banking and finance industry. Her initial stint as a banker at ICICI Bank and ABN AMRO provided her with a varied understanding of global markets. Then, Nidhi Kothari, ma'am, she discovered her calling for sales and joined PGIM India Mutual Fund for an 8 years long stint. Nidhi Kothari ma'am has also completed NISM 10 series, 10A, 10B, 5A, 12 certification, and she's an experienced trader at Her Money Talks. And I believe that our students are going to have an extraordinary learning experience today. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us this learning opportunity. My dear students, this is a lifetime learning experience for all of you. So utilize each and every moment of this session. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much to be associated with us. And it is an honor for us that we are having you today as our guest speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I too hope that students benefit from today's session and some takeaway which they can help, that would help them plan their life and finances in a better way than they would have been earlier rather than.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity at Her Money Talks. So without much ado, I begin today's session on tax planning. If there's any problem with my audio, video or screen share, please let me know. Otherwise, I trust everything is good.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so tax planning is one of the most important things, and actually that becomes one of the most important stepping stones for us, especially when we want to do our own investments and savings. So I think you had a talk yesterday regarding all your personal finance and planning and how to go about it. But on a very practical note, when I started working and when I started the first thing happened was my investment happened because the idea was tax planning. So more often than not, it happens that we invest, we save, or we put our money at the specific place for tax planning. Though that is not the ideal approach, and I would definitely suggest you from my experience that don't do that. Treat your investments in a very serious fashion and follow all the tips that you got. But yes, on a practical note, that was the first time how I stepped into the world of investments. And thankfully, I invested in the right places. I did not just invest for only for tax saving. My idea was not that. So yes, it happened by chance, but I got some good advice. So I hope for you. Also, I really think that these kinds of sessions are helpful, not because they immediately give you an answer that you should do this or this is the right way or this is the best thing, but at least it gives you an opportunity that you understand. Even if there are two things that you pick up from any session, these kind of sessions, today you have the opportunity to Google it and figure out it online. And at least after reading online, there'll be so many options that you will definitely be confused that what should you do. And then maybe you would seek help from somebody. And trust me, this is a process. So problem of plenty is always good, right? So now when you understand that, okay, we can do this and this and this also in tax planning. And earlier I had thought that only insurance was available. For example, I'm just giving you an example. Then it's always good, right? You have 4 or 5 options and you are confused. So you either approach somebody senior, somebody you respect, or maybe take a professional advice. So the basic thing is, yes, I hope this is a window to a new world for you. As Benjamin Franklin has very famously said that nothing in the world is my voice is not audible. I got a message on the chat. Is that the case?
No, yes, ma'am, it's audible. It's clearly
Okay,
audible.
okay. So as Benjamin Franklin has very famously said, and most of us would have heard it, that nothing in this world is certain except for taxes and debt. I also, being a chartered accountant, whenever I meet people, they are very wary of taxes. That, oh my God, I'll have to pay tax. I have a really different approach to tax. I don't mind paying tax at all. Because see, the point is I only get to pay tax if I earn. So my focus is always that forget tax. I cannot do anything about it. That is something that is given. I don't have a choice, but at least I can focus on from where I can earn. So I like my approach much better than obviously others, because it helps me feel good about it, rather than the whole idea about, oh my God, I have to save tax. And again, this much money, why to not feel positive. So I would urge you also to do that. I think that's a good approach. So why we need to focus on tax planning is because the way opportunities have mushroomed up. If you would also, figure out or speak to people around you, maybe plus or minus 5 years, plus mostly in your case, who have 5 years of experience, who are currently in the corporate world or maybe have quit, you would figure out that there are lots of people who this this generation has lots of opportunities in terms of starting up their own businesses. So you will not find that, unlike earlier on, unlike maybe 15, 20 years back, when only a few people did business, and that too in a very traditional manner. Now the opportunities are really, there are lots of opportunities, and people do take a plunge for that opportunity. So sometimes they work for a while and then they save up for their startup or their idea as well. Also, the way people are spending these days, especially your generation, is different. So of course my parents used to tell me that the way I am spending is much different than them, and it is a fact. Actually, the way India has been generally mostly is that we are a savers nation, but now that has changed. The way we are integrated with the world, the kind of opportunities and the kind of information we have. Earlier, because there was no web, there was no integration, we didn't have so many opportunities. But the flip side of this is, though I get a lot of options, I tend to make sometimes choices which, let's say, result in excessive spending or loans, or my goals become much short sighted. So if you speak to maybe your father, or you would ask them that, what did your father tell you or your grandfather tell you? Most of them did not come from a very financially strong background, most of them. So उनकी लाइफ में ना गोल मोस्टली ऐसा होता था that हमारा खुद का घर हो जाए. That was one of the major goals everybody had. So in fact, I also remember my father, that was a major goal for his life when he was, let's say, my age, that he thought that घर खुद का हो जाए. And the similar kind of relatives I know, and the way they have bought, because their financial situation was very different. Okay, I would request people to not use the markers. There is no other reason except that it keeps on breaking my flow. So I request people to. So but now the trend is with the kind of, all of us live better, right, than what our forefathers did. Again, most of us. So when we have this kind of opportunities, we also are taking a step back in savings. We are not treating money as pious and as scarce a resource as our parents did. So we tend to plan for short-term goals, and we sometimes the kind of lifestyle we live. So just like in food, we tend to eat much more of junk food. In case of financial planning and in spending also, what we are doing is spending much more on things which are lifestyle things and not which build. Now, what happens with all this is, because it is a part of money and how you invest your money, how do you save your money, there are some mistakes because of this lifestyle that happen. Because it's after all a whole mental makeup, right, which we have. So that mental makeup, due to that mental makeup, what happens is in the end, when a young professional who has just started out wants to save tax, what they do is they mostly save in inefficient tax saving products. One of the reasons for this is also because mostly in our cases, we take the advice, if, at least for the first tax saving, from our parents, and they have always saved in traditional products. So it was good for their times, not for our times. For our times have really changed, and we need to relook at the ways what we can. Insurance is one of the most favorite product of everybody for saving. Now, insurance is a great product. We all need it to cover our risk. We all require it for life. So anybody who says that, I'll not buy insurance and save it somewhere and use that money for health or at the time of need, that's not really good financial planning. But just buying insurance for tax saving is also not something ideal to do. It is not something which will help you, have a holistic approach in terms of your tax saving and in terms of treating your money fairly. So that is what I would rather put it as, that you would not be treating your money fairly if you just keep on buying insurance for tax saving. Insurance is to cover risk, and that idea should be really clear in our minds. Just like we order food at the end moment when we eat, we tend to do plannings also at the end moment. Now, if it's a trip, we find it very exciting that, all of a sudden we decided and we are out on a trip. But for tax or for financial planning, this really doesn't work. A little bit of focus and a little bit of, you know, um, planning it ahead of the time will go a long way. If you start planning for your taxes in April rather than in March, suppose I'm talking for one full financial year, suppose you begin in August your job, then of course in August rather than in March. Once you, if you begin at the start of your financial journey or income, this really helps you figure out which places are available, have enough time to analyze them, and then select which products suits. If we are too short on time, if we are too urgency, that amount of urgency has come in because we need to submit it for tax purposes to the HR or anything, in the end, then most often than not, we will either select a place where we can easily deposit money like a PPF account and just get the tax done, or buy an insurance that we know that, okay, this is going to give me that benefit. Or third is, just copying any colleague. So always plan for your taxes in the beginning of the year. This will, and trust me, there are lots of places where you can save taxes. Had there been more provisions, you would have easily, uh, you know, uh, exhausted them as well. But that's not the case. So it is easily possible, and you can use a mix of things. So this will lead to a better overall financially healthy plan as well, financially positioned for you as well. So plan your taxes in the beginning of the year rather than at the end of the year, and try to take benefit of all the provisions applicable. So I will come to one which is very mostly overlooked by everybody, but generally also we should, if we have time. See, ये सब कब हो सकता है when we have time. If we are at the end, then we are just bothered that okay, at least ATC, the most famous ATC, 1,50,000 is remaining. Let me invest that this place and I'm done. But there are other places also which you can do. This will only happen again if you have that enough breathing space that I have the time to figure out things. So, what is tax planning? Tax planning is a part of financial planning. It's the process in which we can see our financial planning from the angle of tax planning. And we decide that, okay, in my financial plan, I have these goals. I want to invest as per these goals. Which is the best way, which can help me not just invest on wealth, create wealth, but also help me saving my tax. Now, tax planning is crucial because some of the places you can invest as well, get the tax benefit as well, and this creates, you would rather save money, right? Nobody wants to not save money, not at least not on tax. Nobody wants to pay the extra tax. So once you have the tax saving glass also on your glasses tax saving shield also, then you understand that, okay, this I can maybe plan differently and still earn some wealth. Tax saving is helpful when you want to create some long-term asset or even want to protect your capital. So there are various tax saving tools and you can utilize all of them. What is the difference between tax saving and tax planning and financial planning? So tax planning essentially revolves only around the what is your tax liability, how can you minimize it, what is the betterment. Financial planning helps you create long-term your goals for your whole life. So maybe you can chalk it out into short, medium, long, and you can keep revisiting them, removing them as and when you achieve them. Tax planning is a very short-term process. You do it only for 1 year because though most of the provisions remain same, but we can't be sure, right? It's the government's directive, so it can change the next budget. So on the other hand, financial planning is something more of a long term. Financial planning is something if you covered it yesterday, then maybe financial planning is something in which you can plan for retirement as well. So it is that long term and go a step ahead when you can actually leave a legacy uh, for maybe if you want to do charity or if you want to have if you have a family and you want to leave something for the family. So from till retirement planning till legacy, financial planning is a huge longer term process. Tax planning, you can of course plan tax for a lot of years, but as I said that every year the government directive may change. So mostly it happens that you do the tax planning so that whatever benefits you can avail this year, you avail all of them. And financial planning is about investments, asset management, insurance, covering your risk, managing your debt, everything. So it's a much longer way to managing your wealth. So in short, financial planning is a much larger and a broader picture. Tax planning is a part of it. Tax planning only helps us save or maximize our tax investments, benefits, or the provisions that we can take. On the other hand, financial planning helps you maximize the way in which your wealth that you can create and how you can go on living your life even after an active income. So, tax planning is an important but only one part of financial planning. These are the tax slabs in India. They came out, and the earlier regime, which was there, it's called old tax. Then there is a new tax. The essential difference with both of them is that in the so what happens when you have 100 rupees of income and there are various provisions in the income tax. If you utilize those provisions and if you invest 15 rupees or 20 rupees as per those rules, then you are charged tax on 100 minus that 20. So you are charged tax on 80 rupees. This serves for most of the people who want to invest and want to keep their money safe and would want to grow their money, right? Want to plan tax. The new tax regime is in which you are not allowed any of those deductions. So, up jo 10, 20, 15 rupees, whatever you invest, even if you invest them, you don't reduce that from your income. Your total 100 rupees are charged as tax, charged to tax, but the taxable rate is very less, a little less than what is normal. So, how does one decide which of the methods to use, which of the regimes to use? So, everybody decides on their own numbers. So, this is something which can be easily worked out on an Excel and is mostly applicable from case to case basis. The way the trend has been, the way everybody has reacted to this whole new regime is that mostly people still continue with the old regime. May you have 100 rupees of income and you invest 15, 20 rupees. So you get a deduction and you tax that 80 rupees. The rate of tax here is a little higher, but still because you get all these benefits, it works out better. So this is not something that we can just say that since this, as you can see on the screen, that the tax rates existing and the new tax rates are slightly lesser. We should just blindly follow that. It's a very personal calculation which is done. And then the SSC can decide that which is better for him and what should be followed. Of course, on this tax, you have to pay health and education cess at 4%. And there is surcharge as well if your income exceeds a certain limit. So these are the basic tax slabs in India. How is tax calculated? So So this 100 rupees that I keep telling you that, out of this you make this deduction, out of this that is charged at tax, that is the gross total income. Now, gross total income comprises of these 5 things: salaries, which is the salary that you earn; business of profession. So whatever business of profession you are working on and whatever is the net income or the profit from that; house property. Do you have a house? Do you have more than one house? Is the house out on rent or is the house empty? So there are various different provisions which are applicable. The income based on that. Fourth is capital gains. Capital gains is whenever you buy an asset. So in your personal finance, you must have covered this, that real estate, equity, shares, debt, gold, all these are capital assets. You bought them and you say, suppose you sell them after a certain time, maybe 2, 5, 10 years. There are various provisions, of course. The profit, the excess return that you get on these by investment is what will fall under capital. Whatever doesn't fall in all these 4 falls in other sources. So come on, tell me, what do you think would fall in this other sources of income? Use the chat box or unmute yourself. Tell me, what do you think is the other? There is 1 or 2 things which are like really simple. That's why I would just like you to remember it. Tell me, what do you think would be?
Dividend.
Winning from lottery, horse race winning.
Yes.
This is always the first answer I get. Is absolutely true. But trust me, there is a much simpler answer than this, because we don't tend to win lottery and horse races. I've never won a horse race, never even betted on one. So yes, it is an absolutely right answer, but there is something very simple which definitely happens in all our life, and that money definitely is charged over there.
Interest from bank.
Absolutely, absolutely. Interest from bank. So there is a provision, of course. Donation, Krishna, donation is, we are talking about what are the incomes chargeable to tax right now. So yes, rightly said, interest from bank, that is one of the things. So even if you don't have a bank FD, even if you don't invest in a bank FD, or even if you have not got interest from, sometimes when you invest, when you have an account in a cooperative bank, you buy shares. That is also compulsory thing from cooperative bank. So maybe you don't get any other income. आपको dividend भी नहीं मिला, कुछ नहीं मिला. But you will have a saving bank account, right? All of us have to have a saving bank account, and once salary comes, so definitely you have to have. Whatever income we earn there, that definitely comes under here. Of course, there are provisions in which there are limits. We don't have to pay tax. But remember it that whatever doesn't fall in these 4 specific categories falls in this 5 other sources category.
Ma'am,
Yes.
right now after dividend distribution tax removed, whatever dividend we get directly come to our gross total income. So where you put our dividend?
That will also be other sources.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Your question was that where does dividend come, right?
Yeah, dividend.
Yeah, that will also be other sources.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you mean by some movable or immovable property? Somebody has written some movable. See, immovable property though will be real estate, something like that, right? So that will definitely come under house property, or actually come under capital gain, sorry, because you would have invested and now you are received as gift. So gift has a different perspective. Gifts are taxed. More than 50,000 rupees a gift, and that is a separate provision. But if it is gift between relatives, so like if my father gives me 1 crore rupees, I wish, then that will not be taxed, whatever, because I am his daughter and he can give me any money. So gifts have a different provision, but and movable or immovable property, mostly immovable would be real estate and would come under capital gains. So it would not fall under income sources. Most of the things do fall under these 4. If not, then only it comes under income sources. So dividend earlier it was not taxed. Now it is taxed. It forms under the winnings from lottery, horse races, any kinds of things. Everything falls in this interest income. Okay, so income tax is a huge uh, act, and the income tax has various provision. It is impossible for me to cover everything today in 1 hour one day, but I will try to draw your attention to the most frequently used provisions, sections which you can take benefit of. Also, this is still to give you an overview. It is not that it's not possible for you to remember in just one time, and not possible to understand that which one you can apply there. But there are some 2 or 3 things which everybody, as a salaried individual, immediately as they began, they can utilize those. So I will come to this after that. But let's see some of the basic, mostly most famous deductions which are which can be used. So one is the ATC. This I think fairly everybody would be aware about. ATC is the most famous, most popular, and most utilized deductions available from income tax. Generally, if you see advertisements about investments or insurance, there would also be a line saying that tax benefit under Section ATC of the Income Tax Act. You get to invest 1,50,000, and if you have 10 lakhs of income, then if you have invested 1,50,000, then you are charged in tax only on the remaining 8 lakhs. That is the way this benefit works. Now, in ATC, the total benefit is 1,50,000, but there are various places you can invest in. So, aisa nahi hai that there is only one insurance where you can invest, or one account where you can put your money and invest. There are various options. Some of the most famous options are when you take a home loan, a part of that can be set off here. When you invest in insurance, that can be utilized here. PPF, a public provident fund account, that is where you save money for retirement mostly, that can be utilized here. ELSS, mutual fund schemes, that can be utilized here. The employees provident fund that gets deducted from your salary, that can be utilized here. So ATC is like one whole compartment, one whole coach. You have various compartments. You can utilize which one as you want, and this is by far the most easiest also. So every year, if you do nothing at all, at least you can easily save. There is no problem in that. ATD is where you pay medical insurance for self. Again, I have given limits because due to some conditions, there are various limits applicable. But if you do understand that ATC, just like you can do it for PPF, Employees Provident Fund, Mutual Fund, ELSS, and home loan part of it, that is ATC. ATD is where you can make payment for medical insurance for yourself and get that deduction. Section 80EE, EEA, and 24B is when you take a house property, suppose a flat or a home you take a loan for that, and you are paying interest for that also. So there is certain deduction which you will get on interest. There is certain deduction that you will get on the principal payment of loan. All those have separate limits, and all of them can be utilized. So home loan, that is why people prefer home loans. Not one of the reasons is, of course, buying a home is costly affair. You need lots of money, but because that loan, the interest you pay on that loan, the loan that you take, the interest you pay on that loan helps you reduce your tax lag. So people, even if people plan in such a way that they can maximize their tax benefits by availing a loan. 80G is donation. So if you do any charity, आपने देखा होगा in COVID times also, whenever you want to do charity, you will get a detail below that. So Prime Minister Yojana, or Prime Minister XYZ Fund, whichever it is, you will get the deductions under Chapter 6A of Income Tax Act, or deductions under ATC of Income Tax Act. So Chapter 6A, ATC falls under Chapter 6. So either of the things they write. And now donations, it depends on the charitable institutions following of certain provision. So if you do charity to this PM Yojana and PM all this fund, then 100% is the. In some charitable institutions, whatever donation you make, 50% of that you get as deduction. So each and else, every place where you do charity, if they are registered, you would get a certain deduction, and there would be a place to figure out that whether you would get 50% or 100%. Rent paid for residential accommodation. Now there is this provision and there is another provision, HRA. And SSC can utilize either of these provisions. They cannot utilize both of these sections. If you utilize 80GG, then whatever rent you paid, you can claim that up to a limit of 60,000. Section 80, or you don't utilize this and utilize HRA. The best way to do is to calculate whichever is getting you a better benefit and you utilize that. Section 80E is on education loan. Here, whatever interest you pay on your education loan, all of that is allowed to be deducted from your taxable income. So if you have 100 rupees as your taxable income, and if you're paying 5 or 10 as your interest on education loan, there is no limit. Unlike, like an 80G where maximum 60,000 or 80C where maximum 1,50,000. Here, whatever interest you pay on that loan, everything is deductible. Everything will be reduced from your income. Section 80DDB is when an SSC himself or herself is handicapped or has a handicap dependent, and whatever expenditure they do in terms of making life easier for that handicap, they would get deduction on that basis. Again, there are various limits in that. Section 80CCD. Now, this is a section which mostly people don't utilize. I wouldn't say everybody, but mostly. People are very, SSCs and people who want to pay tax are very quick in utilizing the 80C deduction. But people forget this 80CCD. This is an extra limit of 50,000. If your employer, there are two kinds of accounts in it. So I'll not go too much in detail, but overview, there is tier 1 and tier 2 account. Tier 1 is the only one in which you get tax benefit. There are two ways to do it. You can directly approach the National Pension System and open an account and invest money. Or if your employer has registered under this NPS system, then you can tell the employer to deduct that money from your account. Just like a employee's provident fund is deducted, this can also be deducted. So this is one of the things maybe we can focus on, that again, in tier 1 also, there are various investment options that you can select equity, you can select mix of equity and debt as per your age and all that. So this is one thing you should remember, that out of all this, like 80C, I'm sure everybody will remember and everybody will even talk about when they want to file your taxes. But remember NPS and try to save 50,000 here as well. If you start immediately, you would be able to invest in equity. So your money will grow as well, and you would get this tax benefit as well. A lot of people do not take benefit of this provision.
Ma'am, bonds?
Sorry?
Bonds, ma'am, tax-saving bond, tax-free bonds?
Yes, but they don't fall under here. You can do tax-saving bonds as well. Tax-saving bonds, how do I put it? The limitation of a tax-saving bond is that it comes out at a specific time for that issue, and you have to be applying for that issue at that point of time. So, and then it gets matured, and then you can get that benefit. It is possible, definitely not impossible. Like about 10 years back, there were infra bonds which came. That was a tax-saving opportunity. So at that point, I invested in infra bonds and I let my money stay for those 10 years. And I got a redemption in a while ago for that. So that is possible, but that is only possible when that issue comes at that point of time, So when you want to plan it ahead, and if you know such an issue is going to come, of course, announcements keep happening, then you can obviously do that. But otherwise, there are other places where also you can invest. But tax-saving bonds, you can invest. There's no problem with it. Section 80 TTA is deduction on interest income. So just as I told you that whatever interest we get, there is a deduction that happens. Even interest income, we don't need to pay tax on that. So all the bank interest and everything falls under section TPA, and you get a deduction of up to 10,000 rupees. This is a majorly overview of what are the options available you have. And okay, please keep your mics on mute unless and until you want to tell me something. So these are the various possible things. These are not just the only possible things. These are the things I thought which are most relevant to you right now, which you can maybe remember, or something like a home loan or an interest on education loan or NPS, something which I thought would be useful for you. What should you do to save tax on your salary? What are the first steps that you can do? So first of all, you get a standard deduction. This standard deduction you can take. There is no furnishing of proof required for that. Professional tax, any which ways you pay, it gets deducted from your salary every month. That is the way mostly corporates work. So every month a part of it. So it's 2,500 a year. So then they divide it about 100, 200, depends on the corporate, and they do it. The third is house rent allowance. So if you take the benefit of 80GGA, so 80GG for rent paid up to 60,000, then you can't take benefit of house rent allowance. You can take the benefit of either. So what is house rent allowance? It is the minimum of the following three. The annual HRA received. When you have a pay slip, you will get your HRA amount. The annual amount of that received, 50% of the yearly salaried of an individual, if he's staying in a metro, or otherwise 40%. Total rent, which is annual rent, which is 10% of the basic salary. So HRA has these three. आपको जो HRA मिला वो either 50% of your yearly salary or either 10% of the basic salary. You have to look at these, which is the minimum, you get that HRA. You figure out whether 60,000 is more or this is more, or are you paying rent, either ways, and then you can take the benefit of this. Till the income is 5 lakhs, you get any which ways full rebate on tax. Now, since you have lots of options, let's analyze how we can fuse tax planning with financial planning and how you can take the benefit. So suppose you have to invest 3 lakhs, you do investment. Let's take, okay, so first tell me, does anybody know what is a PPF account? And any feature of a PPF?
Public Provident Fund, ma'am.
Yeah, so it falls under this 80 Public Provident Fund account. Can anybody tell me what is the feature of a Public Provident Fund account? Yes, Maxwell, tell me what is the feature of a Public Provident Fund account?
It is basically tax saving.
There are some 2-3 salient features that are like we have to know them. If you are going to invest, so you will need to know them. What is the minimum time period a PPF account is open for?
10 years, ma'am.
So the minimum time period a PPF account can be opened for is 15 years.
15 years.
What is the time after 15 years we can renew it for?
5 years.
Sorry? I missed that. Please repeat.
5 years.
Yeah. So every time, Alok, absolutely right. We have to renew it for 5-year blocks. So we don't have a choice that we can, even after 15 years, we don't have a choice of 2 or 3 years. We have to renew it for 5-year blocks. Even if you start at 2022, I'm just taking 20 for ease of calculation. At 35, you finish your lock-in and then you will keep it. And it works really well for people because it helps you, since it has such a big lock-in, it helps people accumulate money. You can take out money only for house or marriage purpose, and that too after, I think, 7 years. I'm not too sure, but the time period is 7 or 8 years, either of that. And you can take it out only for house or only for a marriage. So the conditions are very stringent, but it really helps people in building their corpus. Whenever we give an option to people to invest for 2 years or 5 years, everybody will select 2 years only. But the earlier, the lesser time you select, your wealth doesn't have time to compound, and this really works well for people. Now, even at 35 or 37, when you have a PPF and it's finished 15 years, you still have another 15, 20 years to work, right? You would be working for 25 years to be precise until 60. So what you do, you keep on renewing it. Now, for somebody like me, my PPF account was opened by my father even before I started earning. So my 15 years have been over, I don't know when, but every time I've renewed it for 5 years. And I have not stopped it because that is something which is helping me save tax, building a long-term portfolio, and saving for my retirement. So definitely that works well. What is the option you have? So as I said, in ATC you have various options. So like in insurance, if you take, it's not an investment product. Aapne insurance liya hai, you are covering your risk as well, but you are getting some tax benefits as well. And there is an employee provident fund scheme. So you are putting that money away for tax for your retirement. Again, the employer is putting it away. PPF is a similar thing. You put that money away, and every quarter the government notifies the rate of interest. Does anybody know what is the rate of interest currently?
7.1.
So currently it's 7.1. Earlier it was higher. It has come down over the years. The way the interest rate scenario changes. Going further on, it may change as well. Now, this is no way to say that it is not a good product. It's a very popular product, and you should have a part of your investment in PPF. But let's see, if you would invest, then suppose you're investing 5,000 a month and you invest in only PPF, what is the kind of return you make? And if you invest in a mutual fund, what is the kind of return you make? So why I'm showing you this is, even in your tax planning, if you do a bit of planning, financial planning, it works out well. If you're saving 5,000 a month, then in 5 years, what is the amount? Ideally, we should start at 15, because anyway, 15 se to kam aap PPF khol hi nahi sakte. And all of us have a PPF. If you go and check your parents, mostly I have not met a single person who doesn't have a PPF and who's earning money. So suppose if you save 3 lakh rupees in a 5-year time, a mutual fund would give you 3,90,000. A PPF at current rate would give you 3,60,000. Now, this is 7%, assuming that it will remain 7%. Mostly it will not. The incremental rate is 30,000. The return incremental is 10%. But as time goes by, if you see a 15-year horizon, which is the minimum time period, the return differential is 55%. Here we are taking 55%. There are two major conditions. We are assuming that a 7% remains 7%, and mutual fund you will get 10%. The mutual fund product in which you can invest to get tax benefit is an ELSS, equity linked savings scheme. If you go and read out the history performance in the last 20-25 years, the returns are much higher than 10%. But that is not the point we would like to convey here. The point here is that please try to fuse as much as tax planning with your financial planning. So just because that 1,50,000 you can get safely by putting it in PPF, just don't put it there. Look at the other options available. Again, what you can do is you can split the amount in a PPF and mutual fund. So suppose you decide that you want to invest 50,000 for this. Suppose other you have insurance, you have some other home loan, and you pay that. So only 50,000 is remaining out of that 1,50,000 ATC limit. So what you can ideally do is you can split in 25-25 or 20-30, whichever you think is you are comfortable with. In a 15-year period, only a 10% conservative return. And assuming a 7% return till the next 15 years, your return differential is 55. Suppose we consider it a 30-year period. So you are yet not retired. Even if you started at 22 or 25, your maximum at 55. You are yet not retired. Your wealth differential is almost 300%. The incremental income, what you could have created, is almost 300%. So my idea here is not to sell only one kind of product to you that use this, but keep an eye open of what are the things possible. If you are earning income, if you're going to continue for a job, then most often you will not need income, which is any investment product, which is 1 or 2 years down the line. Also, this helps you build a long-term perspective. If you started with a PPF and a mutual fund, then you tend to tag it that have you redeemed a PPF? If you have not, you will tend to continue with your equity investments as well. And the longer you continue, the more you benefit from. So this table is just to give you an idea of the various kind, both fall under ATC, both will give you a benefit of 1,50,000 tax saving benefit deduction, but the return differential that you can create is very much. So pay attention to these kind of things so you can plan it better. Capital gain tax is when you invest somewhere and then you redeem it. Now, there are two provisions. One is short term and one is long term. Which place you invest, that timeline of short term and long term changes. So suppose you invest in equity, the timeline is 1 year for short term and more than 1 year is long term. But on the other hand, suppose you invest in bonds, the timeline is 3 years for short term and more than 3 years for long term. So it depends. Even in real estate, the cutoff is 2 years. So as you can see, in some cases, in most of the cases, whenever it is short-term income, it is added to your income slab. So as you grow, suppose you have 10, 20%. Also in capital gains, remember that you bought the asset today when you've just started earning or you started buying, let's say for example, equity, something which is you can buy with little by little amount, right? It's not something like real estate where you need a chunk of. You might end up, if you become a long-term investor, you might end up selling it after 10 or 15 years. It will fall under your long-term category. So remember, the way you plan it, you may tend to reap much more benefits of tax. If you think that you will, let's say 15 years down the line, you buy equity and sell it in 1 year, then you are already paying 30% tax. You've grown in the corporate ladder. And whatever income you make from that sale of equity, it will fall under your slab rate. Once it falls under your slab rate, you are charged tax on a total amount. So mostly this is the case in bonds, golds, real estate, debt-oriented mutual funds, and sovereign gold bond. Whenever you sell it in the short term, it forms part of your income, except for equity shares and except for equity mutual fund, where a flat 15% rate is applicable. Other than that, everywhere it is invested, added to your income. Short term, it is charged at the same tax. In long term, the rates differ. That gives you a benefit of investing at a longer end, getting more returns, but charging tax at a lower end. In some of the assets, you also get benefit of indexation. What is indexation? Does anybody know? Indexation is so as time goes, inflation and prices of things increase. So the government comes out with a cost inflation index every year. What this helps me do is it brings my cost of buying something to present times. So suppose I bought a house 10 years ago and I bought it for 1 crore. But now, obviously, if somebody wants to buy that house, he will not get that house for 1 crore, right? I bought it because I bought it 10 years back. So what do I do? If I go to sell that house, suppose I go to sell that house, for example, it sells for 5 crore, then 4 crores on 4 crores, should I be paying the tax? No, right? I've held that asset. I've been invested in that asset for 10 crores. I have seen its price increase from 1 crore to 5 crores. So what can I do? The government releases a number every year. So from 1 crore, the price will be inflated as per that number. Let's say the inflated price comes to 3 crores and I sell that house for 5 crores today. I will be paying tax only on 2 crores and not 4 crores. This is the benefit of indexation. Indexing the cost till today's date. Indexing the buying cost to today's date. That is what indexation. This is applicable in bonds, in debt mutual funds, in real estate, in gold. This really helps a person that if he has held the investment for long term, they get to inflate the price till today. A very, very far-fetched example, but not something which has not happened with people. It is, if you go and read also, you will figure out maybe some forefathers build a house for, at that point of time, building a house in 50,000 or 1 lakh was not unheard of. When, like, my grandfather or his father would have built it. And today, if that house sells for like 2 crores, are we going to pay tax on 1 crore and 95, 99 lakhs? That is not possible, right? Because वो 50,000 1 lakh तो तब खर्चा किया था, आज उसकी वैल्यू क्या है? So maybe that value today is 1 crore or 1 crore 10 lakhs, and I end up paying tax if I want to sell that house, sell that property. I end up paying tax only for the 80, 90 lakhs. So that is the benefit of indexation, and this is really helpful when you want to calculate long-term tax. So I'll not go into which are the cutoffs. That's no need to remember as well. These are very simple things which your chartered accountant do, or you yourself can do when you actually end up selling that capital asset, not even when buying it. If you do not file your income tax, if you miss your income tax deadline, then you get a late fee of up to 10,000. You have to pay advance tax every quarter. That is why even in salary, a TDS is deducted from us and it is submitted by employer into the government. There's a penalty also and fine if you don't disclose your PAN or TAN and all those things. This is an overview of the things which could happen due to, because of tax planning. All these things I think you covered about how to go about investing, knowing what are your rights, what are the things you should or should not do in the market, obligations you have as an investor, where can you approach somebody if you have any grievance redress, and what are the best practices by SEBI for investor protection, what has it started. You can write to us also at contact@harmonytalks.com, or if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them as much as possible right now.
Yes, students, if you want to ask any question, kindly ask, ma'am. Kindly.
Okay, so I hope the session was useful to you.
Yes, so do you want to ask any question? Yes. Okay, so I guess, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have one
yeah,
question.
thank you. Yes, Ashish, go ahead.
Ma'am, it is regarding exemption versus deduction. So, what is the main difference between them? Like, because we have exemption.
Great question. I should have covered it. Yeah, great question. I should have covered it actually. So exemption is जब वो income taxable होता ही नहीं है. For example, a PPF. When you invest in a PPF, the amount that you invest is deductible from your income. If you have 100 rupees of income, you say you invest 20 rupees in a PPF, you save that money, that amount is deducted from your income. The interest you earn from a PPF, that is an exempted income. वो add ही नहीं होता आपके account. That is not even added. Maximum people do a disclosure that this income was this interest from PPF was earned by me. It is not, when it does not come under the ambit, it is exempted. That is the difference. Deduction is when you reduce it. Exemption is when it is not taxable. So you don't have to specifically go out and write in your income tax return that this income is exempted. You don't have to go out and show anything that this is to exempt income. That itself doesn't come under exempt. That is the main difference.
And while calculating that taxability, income taxability, so that time we'll be adding it, right? While calculating from the heads of income, so we'll be adding it, and then deduction is available for deduction, right? So that is it is a part of a income at first, right?
Why will you add it?
Because
suppose
I have like suppose I get income in the form of like, okay, so if I go for ATC, so that time what happens is like we'll be deducting it from, okay, as a premium paid only we'll be deducting, right? So I'm a little bit confused on that one. Like sometimes while calculating that income, total income, so that time we'll be adding, I think, I'm confused. I'm not sure.
So are you talking about exemption or are you talking about deduction?
Deduction,
So
deduction.
exemption, though you don't have to do anything, it doesn't come
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Forget that. Okay.
Yeah.
Deduction is you have 100 rupees of income and you pay 10 rupees of insurance premium, you deduct it from your 100 rupees. Now this 100 rupees may be possible that 70 you earn from salary, 10 rupees you earn from house property. You have a house property and you have given it on rent, you get 10 rupees. 10 rupees you maybe have winnings from lottery, so 70, 80, 90, and 10 rupees maybe you earn from bank deposits. All this is part of your income. So all this is your gross total income. One is from salary, 70 rupees, 10 rupees from investments, 10 rupees from house property. The total gross total income becomes 100. And now, after out of this 100, 10 rupees you have invested in insurance. You have paid in insurance as a premium. Then this 10 rupees is deducted from your gross total income, 100 rupees. And on the 90 rupees you paid.
Yeah, correct. That's what I mean. Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, any more question? Yes? No? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this excellent session. And we believe that our students have explored different dimensions of tax planning, how they can go forward it. It was really an excellent session, ma'am. And we all could understand various aspects of tax planning, various aspects of tax dimensions with this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful session and for this invaluable guidance to our students. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank to our respected director, sir, and HUD, sir, also for giving us this learning opportunity. And finally, my dear students, thank you so much for your active participation. Without you, this session would not complete. Thank you so much for your energetic and active participation. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us this learning opportunity. We were honored to have you with us as our guest speaker. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.